shift a little bit here, and we've spoke a little bit about the industry. We spoke a little bit about your personal background and kind of how we got here, right? But just on your day to day, and just like kind of who makes what makes you you, I should say. Um, I'm sure that, going into figuring out some of these questions that, you brought up, or overcoming some of these kind of hurdles and just like industry, issues that we deal with on a daily basis, that stressors are going to come with it, right? And then also, like, let's
Mm.
compound that with the fact that, we're in a pandemic and we're still going through those types of things on a regular basis, right? I'm sure those can create like a lot of hectic moments, potential hectic moments for sure. With that being said, like, what are some of the best de-stressors, or just de-escalators that you find yourself relying on to kind of keep you in a good creative space and keep you in a good personal space also outside of like the work world, just on a personal level?
Yeah, for sure. Um, for me, like in my downtime, music is very important. Not only listening to it, but creating it, recording it, playing it. And my office space is essentially in my studio. So at the end of the day, if I'm burnt out on concentrating on a few different things throughout the workday, it's easy for me to kind of switch off Slack and get into a recording project where I can just get lost in writing music and recording it, and setting up mics and playing with sound, and being able to not only use my creativity for something that I enjoy doing, but it's also in line with my day to day too. So it's like problem solving, it's making little decisions along the way. For me, that's just what energizes me. So, I can lock myself into my studio for hours on end, just getting lost in this like trance of building and creating music. And that
Right,
really helps me
right.
kind of turn my mind off and kind of focus on something for me. And usually with that, I come out of it refreshed and re-energized and ready to take on more problems to solve.
Absolutely, man. I think that it's such an underrated um, uh, focus, a point of focus. I think that a lot of times, especially in this tech space, where we're all trying to, be the greatest and the latest, and it's all about, punctuality of performance type of thing, right? I
Right.
think that a lot of times we kind of lose track on having that personal balance, and then also not realizing that in creating those moments of refreshment, it actually benefits you on the other end. I mean, has the creative ability and that ability to kind of step back and get into these kind of like trance like moments, like you say, like has that informed like your ideas of creative? Like, has that had an impact on?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like it's all process driven. It's all starting from point A, getting to point B, and then winding up at point C. And that's no different with work either. It's like I have these objectives that I have to meet, and there's a process that I have to adhere to make sure that I'm hitting that target. And then for me outside, where I'm making music or recording in my studio, it's the same thing. It's cobbling together, a verse and a chorus, and then I'm going to put that together, and then I'm going to see what it sounds like with a synthesizer or like a drum machine, or I'm going to record real drums. It's like all these little challenges that I'm setting myself up with that I have to overcome. And then the goal, obviously,
Right.
to wind up with a product that you're happy with.
Huh.
So being able to put myself in those situations on a fun basis for me to unwind and to recharge, when it comes to my day to day, I'm more integrated into that process. So I'm able to move more adaptively, or just be more comfortable in my decisions and be able to move forward without having to get caught up in sort of these details that, let's be honest, could take all day to to solve, but you don't have all
Right.
to solve. So you have to think quick, and you have to make it happen. So for me, music has been a very strong disciplinarian, so to speak, because it's forced me to make those decisions and to stick with those decisions, and to ultimately, aim to hit whatever target or goal I'm looking for.
That's awesome, man, because that's an awesome analogy and a good piece of insight. Because it's almost like the music element or your natural, instinct, your natural interest as far as being a creative, um, is like a shadow boxing
Can't sit
exercise,
still either. I
you know?
Yeah, I can't sit still. I can't movies. I can't watch a movie. Like, I don't have the attention span for any of that stuff. I always got to be
Right,
doing something.
right,
It's kind
right,
of a curse,
right.
to be honest.
No, no, no. No, I hear you. But it's just funny because I don't think people kind of look at it from that perspective. And it's interesting because even in your downtime, you're not consciously working, but you're working on the skill set that allows the actual work to thrive or
Yeah,
to be more efficient. And it's more of a natural thing. Like, I am what I am because this is what I do. It's not like I'm trying to purposely be this creative. This is just a part, it's an
this is who I
expression.
am, right? Yeah,
Right. It's an expression. And I think like being able to be in a space where you're striking that balance on a continuous level. Like for me, I chat. I talk. Like I'm a communicator. So when it comes to the marketing space, it's not like it's necessarily like a challenge. This is kind of like what we do. It's a natural extension of the type
Mhm.
of person that I am instinctively, right? On the intrinsic level. So it's just it makes the work a little more fluid,
Yeah.
and I think that's a beautiful place to be in. So that's awesome that that you kind of have that ability to kind of interweave both worlds,
Yeah.
so kind of naturally.
So yeah, like kind of what we were talking about earlier about our backgrounds, from a young age, again, I knew that I've always wanted to be an artist. I didn't know what kind of art or what. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And I made that decision. And every decision that I made was always to serve that decision. So
Right.
being able to combine my outside life with my work life, being able to have those work together, to me, in a creative sense, is the only way to live.
Right. And it's not like a thing where your work life is stealing necessarily from the creative space.
Exactly.
It's intertwined. So like it's not like I'm making a choice. A lot of people talk about the work-life balance, right? But if you're actually doing something that you enjoy doing, and it's an extension of who you are as a person,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like a clock in thing. Like I'm just doing something in a different context. I'm doing me in a different context. I
For
mean,
sure.
that's really all that it is. So it's not a laboring thing. It's
Mhm.
this is something that I would be doing if I wasn't here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
I mean,
right.
also too, it's like, I grew up in a place, I come from the Midwest, and the town that I grew up in, it was almost sort of expected that you just go work in a warehouse or a factory, and that was your job. And that was all that was, that you were going to do. And a lot of people are cool with that. And a lot of people are totally fine with that. And that's awesome. But again, I knew that I wanted to integrate a lot of creativity and art and visual aesthetics into my life, in my output, into how I make money, in how I view the world, in how I express myself. So the only way to do that is to be able to work in an industry that encourages that level of thinking and
Absolutely.
self
Right.
forward. And you know,
Right.
if you want to talk about
Now,
failure, like,
yeah.
I've been there a lot.
I was literally just about to hop onto that because of course, man, being in the creative space, like expression is obviously so subjective a lot of times, right? Like what we think is, like um some Van Gogh level of work, or what we think is just something outside of the box. It just may not be appealing to the next person. It's art. It's not really necessarily like a textbook set of rules to how we play that game, right? So I'm sure like you've encountered several instances where, like you said, there's rejection, or you're discouraged about some of your ideas not necessarily connecting in the way that you kind of writ drew it out, right?
For
So
sure.
like what do you do in those instances, man, when it's like, hey, like I thought like this was going to do this, and the reaction is something different than what you
Yeah.
anticipated, so to speak.
And rejection is hard. And it was a lot harder for me when I was younger. Definitely. I mean, if there were opportunities that I wouldn't get, I would take it personally, or I would really just sort of overthink it to death, to the point where I'm just driving myself crazy. But as I've gotten older, and as I've lived through a lot of those experiences, I feel like I'm getting better at them. Definitely don't take things as personally anymore. I mean, there's so many factors and so many gray areas in terms of why you failed, or why you rejected, or this or that. There's so much that you don't know, that you can't really apply to your own personality. So that's like one big thing. And then also, I am a big proponent of turning negatives into positives. So being able to use failure as a way to learn something, or to figure out kind of how you're going to do stuff down
Right.
the line. I think that's really important.
Speaking to that point, right? I think the way that you interpret certain things that you encounter in life, right, has a lot to do, obviously, with your experience, your previous experiences, and maybe some of the tutelage that you encountered, as you kind of come into your own. And then also, I think a lot of it has to do with the environment, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
is the environment that you're a part of, does it encourage certain feedback? And is there a mechanism, or is there like a path to saying, okay, yeah, look, this is the type of feedback we're going to give you. Maybe you didn't like it, but we encourage you to continue to produce or give us these forms of expression, because we want to, at the end of the day, um, find whatever is the peak of your creative ability, right?
Mhm.
So it's not about like giving you a piece of criticism, or giving you a different idea to necessarily drain or discourage. It's to elevate, right?
Mhm.
And I think, like I said, a lot of that has to do with the culture that's set, with the environment that you're in, and kind of like speaking on just like the overall environments that you work best in. Like, in your opinion, what makes a company a great place to work at?
Yeah, I think being engaged and challenged by the work is first and foremost. I feel like the worst kind of situation you can find yourself in is, working on autopilot, and being stagnant. If you're not learning, if you're not
Right.
growing, if you're not gaining, then, you're kind of wasting time. So, for me, what I look forward to when I wake up in the morning to come to work is, overcoming challenges, coming up with new ideas, maybe, understanding some different processes of how other people do things to better integrate that in with my own. And yeah, just being overly engaged in what you're doing, and being excited about the work. If you're just churning and burning, you're going to churn and burn yourself out. So,
Right. I'm down.
being able to like find excitement in the work that you're doing. And the cool thing about Moloco is every project is different. It's like, even when we're working on campaigns, one week I'm working on something that is related to fintech. And then the next week I'm working on something that's related to like some, match 3 puzzle game. And then the next week I might be working on something for, Disney or whatever. So it's like
Right.
every day is like something new to tackle. And that's exciting.
Right. Awesome. Are there certain things when you look at like um, how you perceive or how you envision like successful company culture to look like? Like, are there I guess, are there like certain pillars, certain foundational elements that to you are important to establishing
Yeah,
successful company culture?
I mean, communication is a huge part of it. Being able to effectively converse with coworkers and share ideas in an environment that is non-judgmental, I think that is really important. And that goes for just being able to ask dumb questions and not feel like an idiot for doing so. But
Right.
you're taking that initiative to learn something, and be able to apply that to whatever it is that you're trying to solve. So communication is a big part of it. Respect is a big part of it. Um, and just being able to work comfortably within your team to work in tandem and holistically. I think that's going to make for a much better end product.
Kind of to, close this out, man, we had a great conversation so far, but, to kind of close it out here, like when it comes to Moloco, right? What are your hopes, or I guess, what are your desires for the culture here at Moloco moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty optimistic about the future of Moloco and its culture. We're hiring a lot of really smart people and a lot of really interesting people who come from all different kinds of backgrounds. And I think that allows all of us to, work together in a way that I've personally never experienced in other companies that I've worked for. So I would definitely say that there's a lot of mentorship going on, and people aren't afraid to guide others and to give their expertise. So when we do like our weekly soapbox meetings or our Moloco talks, it's not only a good opportunity to find out sort of what they're working on and be able to empathetically, put yourself in their shoes, but you learn a lot about that person too. And I think at the end of the day, that really makes a great company.
Beautiful, beautiful, man. And I mean, that's a great note to put a cap on that. um, I really like, just the way that you kind of spoke on the diversity that we're acquiring here, and like making sure that that's an important factor when it goes into creating a culture that is very inflexible and thematic to what some of the things that we spoke on earlier today, as far as being adaptable. Like, you have to have different perspectives, and you have to have different people coming in to be able to give you that ability to move around,
Mm,
with ease,
yeah.
right? So, but yeah, anyhow, man, like, I really appreciate that portion of the convo, man. And I do, like, this is normally where we switch it up, and if you're down, we can have a little fun. This is, we had the heavy lifting, and this is here normally where we switch it up and we go into our uh, lightning round. So basically, this part of the Moloco Minute, man, we try to squeeze in 20 questions within 1 minute and see if we can get an answer for all of these this or that questions within that 1 minute time frame, man. So if you are open, if you're ready for it, man, I have a couple of questions here for you and we can rattle them off. I'll put the timer on and we'll see if we can get it done. And are you down?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me put some time on the clock here. It's no pressure. Don't worry about it, man.
This is just
No
rapid
one has,
fire.
they're rapid fire. No one has done it so far. So let's see if
All
you
20
can.
questions.
Yeah, no one has gotten through all 20 questions so far. So
Watch
let's
me.
see if we can. I love it. I love the attitude. All right, so let's prompt it up here. Give me 1 second.
They're just random questions, right? You just
It's
rapid
just
fire.
random questions, rapid fire, man. Just whatever comes to your head. You don't have to think about it. All right, so we'll start the clock here in 3, 2, 1, go. Favorite sport?
I hate sports.
Favorite time of day?
Morning,
Favorite season?
fall,
Favorite singer or band?
Iggy Pop,
Favorite movie genre?
cult,
Favorite book?
Be true to your school.
Flowers or chocolates?
Chocolates.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Hot dog or hamburger?
Oh, hamburger.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Text message or call?
Call.
Snow or rain?
Snow.
T-shirts or sweaters?
Sweaters.
Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits.
Frozen yogurt or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast.
Breakfast. You did it. I can't believe, like, I should have thrown in an extra question in there just to throw you off. Yeah. But anyhow, man, Adam, like, I really enjoyed, hearing from you today. And of course, we're super excited to have you on the team, man. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your conversation. Thanks for your words. I really appreciate it again. But anyhow, guys, with that, we hope you all enjoyed today's Moloco Minute, and we look forward to seeing you again with the next episode. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Thank you.